All right, I am trying to work through the technology. How unprofessional is this? Don't hold it against me. I am live now. So let me just get this over to the other people. I am hoping to get some people on. Okay, somebody is here. Yay! I am so sorry. I don't know what was happening. The link wouldn't work. YouTube kept giving me an error message saying that that live was unavailable. Go figure. So, if you could just pop in the chat and tell me who you are. I see, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the other people over here. I shared the link, but even that is showing up as an error message. It's so strange. It's so strange. Okay, but there are 3 people here. Hi, thank you guys for being patient. I got all frustrated and was like, why won't they let me go live? I've been trying for 10 minutes. Anyways, let me just get my air condition out now that my blood pressure is up. If this is your first time joining me live, my name is Stacey Herrera, and I'm an intimacy and relationship coach and creator of the Sensuality Project. If I had to summarize my work in a single sentence, I would say that I help people get along with the people that they like. And I also help people get along with people they don't like. So today is an Ask Me Anything. And look, now that I have gotten a little bit frazzled, let me just get myself back on track. I want to tell you a little bit about how this is going to go. I'm going to first go through the pre-submitted questions. Those are people that may not be joining me live. And obviously, they might not even be finding this link. So I definitely want to get to those questions. And then I will get to any live questions that you may have currently. So, but before we do that, I'd love to know where y'all are from. Hey, Prima. Where are y'all tuning in from? You can just pop it in the chat. There is a little bit of a delay, so it might not show up for me for a few seconds. But I'm tuning in from sunny Southern California. It is sunny right now. It hasn't been today yet. I'm going to take a few deep breaths so I can calm myself. Let's see. I know Prima is tuning in from Tennessee. Wherever else y'all might be tuning in, you could just pop it in the chat and I should be able to see it on the screen. I see people disappearing. So I'm going to move on to the next thing because I'm not sure if the technology is working. Fingers crossed that it is. So let me just go back and then we can go into the pre-submitted questions so that we can not waste any more time. We'll go until the end of the hour. Unless it ends early, I won't just keep you to be keeping you. And after I go through the pre-submitted questions, then I will definitely take questions that are happening live. Let's see. All right. The first question is from Anonymous. And the question is, my husband and I seem to clash over small issues. Any tips for resolving disagreements without turning into a major argument? You know, the small things become big things in relationships. And so that's why this is a really good question, because it's really important to be able to not escalate unnecessarily. I think that often when we keep tripping over small stuff, it's often about wanting to be right and not really seeing the relationship, seeing ourselves as separate from the relationship. And so being able to see your partner as and yourself as an us. I like to liken it to a soup pot, you know, and both of you are in it. And so that means that anything that you say not only impacts your partner, but it impacts you because it gets on you too. And so you want to be really mindful of what you add to the pot. And so being self aware and just taking a pause and thinking through what you are saying, and even filtering through your body, like what is triggering me, you know, because sometimes it's like it's not what the person is saying, it's sometimes a story that we're making up about what they're saying. And so taking a step back and pausing before you respond will help to minimize the chance of a disagreement turning into an argument. It's important to note that arguments and disagreements are two very different things. Disagreements are healthy, and that's okay. It's really important to be true to yourself. So if you're getting along all the time, that just means that somebody's not telling the truth. They're not being honest. So it's okay to not agree on everything. It's okay to have a difference of opinion, but it doesn't need to turn it into an argument. You don't need to resort to name calling or yelling or anything. And if you start to feel your temperature rising and the hackles going up and your blood pressure going up, then just take a pause and take a step back. Pausing is your friend when it comes to disagreements. And that's true whether you're disagreeing with your partner or another person. You just want to take a beat before you respond. And if you feel yourself feel it getting escalated, then feel free to bow out. Like, you know, I like to say, like, this is a great place to put a pin. Like, let's circle back to this. And if it does escalate, again, the important thing is to not avoid disagreements or an argument if it goes there. The important thing is to come back for the cleanup. So I guess, like, for the small things, the other thing that I think is really important is to think about, like, what is it that's actually triggering you? You know, is it what the person is saying? Are you getting upset about the argument you're currently having? Are you future tripping to what you think they meant? Or are you time traveling to the past from another time? Because a lot of times when the small things become big things, we're going over the same things over and over and over again. So take a pause. Take a pause. And if you can't respond in a way that doesn't escalate things, then just ask if we can come back and talk about this later. And make sure that you do, again, come back for the cleanup, because that's the most important piece. I hope that's helpful. Let's see. Here's another one from Marcus, who is 63. I'm 63 and recently went through a divorce after being married for decades, and I'm feeling lost and overwhelmed about starting over. Any tips on navigating the dating scene at this stage in life? Well, I'm sorry that your marriage dissolved, Marcus, unless it was a good thing, which if so, then congratulations. In terms of, like, getting back on the saddle after being married for a long time, it can be disorienting, because, you know, dating has probably changed since you were last single, and now there's internet dating and all kinds of other things. So, the best tip that I can say is to get clear first about what it is that you actually are looking for. And make sure that you are stating those things clearly to the people who are potential partners for you. Your own clarity will help you to match up with people that are on the same page with you. You also want to make sure that you are being clear about your intentions when you are seeing someone, just again to make sure that you're on the same page. You don't want to be led on and you don't want to lead people on. And lastly, just do it. Like there's so many there's it's so easy to create stories about why we can't get started with dating, or why it's hard, but practice makes better. So it's one of those things that you just have to do it. You just have to get out and put yourself out there, and the more you do that, the easier it will be to get really clear about what you want, because we are really good at determining what we don't want by experiencing it. So if you when you get out and date people, and you come across people where it's like, well, this person had these qualities that I liked and these qualities that I don't, it'll help you to hone and get really clear about what you want for yourself. But just put yourself out there. Don't hem and haw too much, and don't make up too many stories. The practice makes better. The more you do it, the easier it'll be. Let's see. Sandra asks, my partner and I have been together for years, but lately it feels like we're speaking different languages. How can we improve our communication and reconnect on a deeper level? This is something that I see all the time. This is something that I see all the time. If I had a quarter for every time a couple has told me that they're speaking two different languages, I would be a very rich person. But it's not true. You are, most of the time people are saying the same things. They're just using different words to say it. If you really are, if you are able to zoom out a little bit and really listen to what your partner is saying and what you're saying, or what your partner is asking for and what you're asking for, you might find that you are actually wanting the same things, but you might have a different way of trying to get there. Um, Oftentimes, like for example, sometimes two different people might be, both of them are wanting to connect, both of them are wanting to get close, both of them are wanting to be sexually intimate. One person might go about that by being very direct about it. The other person might need a little bit more warming up, but you're both trying to get to the same place. So it's easy to be misled and to think that you aren't saying the same thing when you really are. And I think that the most important piece is to really ask questions, ask for clarity, don't make assumptions. So, be reflective, like, is what I'm hearing you say this? So that you can actually know for sure that what you are hearing is what the other person means. And asking clarifying questions and reiterating and mirroring back what you're hearing will actually eliminate a lot of the disconnect and the discord, because sometimes it's really that our brain is filling in the gaps. It's like one of those things, like when you're typing, your brain will fix the typos. And so that's exactly what happens when we're communicating with people. We're often hearing one thing, but we are transposing it or transcribing it to make it fit our own narrative. And that's why, like, listening to hear and not listening to respond is important. And then mirroring back what you heard so that you are absolutely 100% sure of what the other person is saying and there isn't any misunderstanding. And by doing that, you'll actually find that your connection deepens on its own, because both of you are feeling seen and heard, and then the communication will naturally improve. So take your time, slow down, listen for understanding and listen to hear, and mirror back what you've heard for clarity. And I think that you'll find that that will actually improve your communication quite quickly. Dave asks, how can my wife and I keep things spontaneous and exciting after being together for so many years? That is a really great question, and that's something that people come up against all the time. It can get, I don't want to say boring, but it can become routine when you're in a relationship for a long time. And that's not because either person is uninterested. It's simply because the brain loves to automate. The brain loves to do as many things as possible on autopilot. And so when we're with someone for a long time, our brain automatically starts behaving as though it knows everything about the other person. So one of the ways to shake that up is to do some things, separately. The more you take care of your own self and follow things that you want, when you come together, you have different things to talk about because you're not doing every single thing together. And that might seem really counterintuitive to what people think relationships are supposed to look like. It's wonderful to do things together, but it's really important to maintain a separate identity. And that actually helps to keep things spontaneous and exciting with your partner because, again, you're sharing new things. Like my partner and I, we spend half the week apart, but that means that when we're not together, I have no idea what he's doing, and he has no idea what I'm doing. So when we do get together or we have conversations, he's telling me about his day, I'm telling him about my day. I'm going to tell him about, like, oh my God, let me tell you how difficult it was to get on YouTube today. That'll be a whole conversation. But it helps to keep things fresh and light because you don't make the assumption that you know all there is to know. The other thing that I would say is also to try new things together. So while maintaining your separate identity is important, do some stuff that you haven't done before together. Maybe start by making a list of things that you're both interested in trying, and then picking out the ones that you'd like to actually try together. That's a great way to create some new memories, to explore some different things, to get clear about some stuff you don't like, because you're not going to enjoy all the things that you try, but you try anything once, kind of thing. And put your phone down. Put your phone down is another really important way to keep things spontaneous and exciting, because sometimes, especially now, our attention is our greatest currency. And it's really easy to be distracted while you're in the same room with someone. So by having some non or analog time with one another as often as you can is a really great way to keep things fun and exciting. And that's true whether we're talking about romantic relationships or friendships. Like even when you go out with your friends, it's like put your phones down and actually look at each other and talk and laugh. It's a much more expansive time to give someone your full attention, and that definitely helps to keep us interested in one another. Next question from Anonymous. My partner and I have different political views, and it's creating friction between us. How can we navigate our differences without it affecting our relationship? This is a really great question, and it's actually one that I relate to. My partner and I also have different political views, not across the board, but in some significant areas. And some of our most heated disagreements have been related to political things. One of the things that I have come to know as a result of my own experience is when I get triggered and the friction comes up, it is because I am taking his perspective personally. And when it comes to politics, and this is true for strangers and familiars, so strangers and people that we know and love, is that the things, the people that we vote for, and the the things that we think are important are directly related to the things that we value personally. We are always filtering everything that comes into our view through the lens of our own personal experience. And a lot of times, the difference in political views is simply a difference in lived experience. Excuse me. You know, my partner and I have two come from two very different backgrounds, and as a result, the things that are important to him politically are not the things that are top of mind for me politically. And that's where our viewpoints differ. So, I'm sorry about the creaking door. So that's where our viewpoints differ. So don't take it personally that if your partner is, has a different perspective about something, it isn't that they are, voting against your well being. They are simply voting for what suits their particular needs. And the rather than having friction, it creates an opportunity for really deep discussions. There's a lot of intimacy actually to be had from through the lens of different perspectives and experiences, because by talking about like why you feel the way you feel or why you vote the way you vote, you actually get to know each other on an intimate level. Sometimes it could be something that happened to your partner, when they were 7, that is creating the alignment with, a particular political candidate or a particular, issue that's on the ballot. And by having open discussions where everything is welcome and nobody is villainized for their viewpoint, by having those kind of discussions, you actually get to know each other better. So, I think that we mistakenly believe that disagreements means misalignment, but that's not necessarily true, because the things that are the most important, the things that, that impact your relationship the most, are probably aligned. However, maybe your partner's more conservative and maybe you are more, left leaning simply because of your own lived experience and not because you don't care about the other things. People that are more left leaning, it's not that they don't care about money. Of course they do. It just might not be the most forward facing issue for them. So I really encourage you to talk about it. And again, if you need to pause, if it starts to get heated, you might need to pause. This happens for me and my partner. Sometimes we have to circle back the next day to unpack the thing, and then we're able to do it without seeing red fast. But either way, we make sure that we circle back and make sure that both of us are feeling heard. And when it gets heated because we're triggered, then we put a pin in it and then come back the next day and make sure that we are being respectful to one another. So that is my advice about political views. There's 2 more pre-submitted questions here. The next one is from Catherine. Now that our kids are grown and out of the house, my husband and I are struggling to reconnect. Any ideas on how to adjust to this new phase in our relationship? That is common. That's common. When we have children, we don't even realize how everything about our lives often revolve around our kids and what's going on for them. And then they grow up and, fly the coop, and then we're left, with ourselves and with our partners, and usually we're not the same people that we were before. And so we have to get to know each other again. And so I said all that to say, I highly recommend approaching your relationship with a beginner's mind. You aren't the same person and he isn't the same person. And so now, take your curiosity and get really curious about the person your partner is today. so that you both kind of get to know each other. And there might be some things about yourself that, of course, that have changed that you might not be familiar with. All of us go through different phases. And so, think about the things that you like or enjoy. Think about the things that feel different to you, like maybe like, oh, I feel different in my body and this used to feel good and this didn't, so you can really get playful about exploring with one another again. That while they're getting reacquainted with their own bodies, you can get reacquainted with it too. So being curious and asking questions, again, not assuming that you know everything there is to know about your husband because you've been together for a long time. Ask questions, even if it's something that you think you know the answer to. Ask. You might be surprised that their viewpoints may have changed, or they might feel differently just simply because of the season that they're in. So the reconnection is going to happen by being curious and talking to your partner as if they are somebody that you just met. And that is how you get to know each other once more. And you might, again, be surprised about some of the things you discover about yourself, because I guarantee you that you aren't the same person that you were, sometimes 30 days ago. So we're constantly changing and evolving, and we have to stay curious about ourselves and about our partners. And that's how we, continue to love each other and thrive without it getting stale. And and also, now that your children are out of the house, there are some things that you could do now that you couldn't probably do before. Like, a lot of people don't walk around the house naked when their children are in the house. Well, now that your kids are grown, like, you can let the freak flag fly. You can get really risque. Like, there's so much space and opportunity. You get to live all over the entire house and not just in your bedroom. So spice things up, get curious, and explore some different things that you might have been reluctant to explore or do when your kids were still in the house, because now you've got full reign of the castle. So I say get curious and find out some things. Let's see. This is the last pre-submitted question. And this one is from Michael. I'm getting older, Michael's 57, and noticing changes in my appearance and health that are affecting my confidence in dating. How can I overcome my insecurities and embrace my age while seeking love? That is a great question, and I totally relate. I turned 50 last year, and so I definitely am seeing some changes in my own physical appearance and just my body in general. And I'm learning to navigate this new body in this different season. Like I've said before, curiosity is going to be your friend, and also unconditional friendliness. So, get curious about yourself. Like, what's working, what's not working, what do I want to stop doing, what do I want to start doing, what feels good to me, what doesn't. So getting curious with yourself and asking yourself questions is going to be really important. And then being unconditionally friendly with yourself about whatever comes up, because so often our insecurities are the result of us being unkind to ourselves. Because we can have there will always be things that we wish were a little bit different, or I'm reluctant to say a little bit better about ourselves. Those things will always be true, but you don't have to dismantle yourself. Like, don't pick yourself apart. That's how insecurities get developed. You want to be able to accept everything about yourself. I am super judgy, and for a long time I thought that I needed to stop being judgmental. And I have found that my judgment has loosened considerably just as a result of me being able to say, I'm a judgy person. I judge. That's part of who I am. And in accepting it without making myself wrong for it, I have found that my judgment is a lot less aggressive. It's a lot less aggressive than it used to be. So, I said all that to say that, when we pick ourselves apart, that's how insecurities happen. It's likened to like a scab. Like you can nick your skin and a scab will grow over it. But if you keep picking the scab off, it just never heals. And those unhealed things become our insecurities. So just accept everything. It's just radical acceptance for yourself. Accept the things you love about yourself. Accept the things that you don't think are great about yourself without making yourself wrong. I accept that I accept that I judge. I also accept that I love fully and that I love deeply and that I'm super empathetic. Like all of those things are true. And by accepting it all, then you'll find that you will be embracing yourself. And when it comes to seeking love, the more you love yourself, the more you like yourself, the easier it is to find people that love and like you. And it's not to say that you can't find love if you don't love yourself. You can, but you won't know it. You won't believe it. Because in order for us to believe that that someone can love or care about us, we have to believe that we are lovable. And that's why self-acceptance is so important. But the only way to get to self-acceptance is to become self-aware. Like I had to first become aware that I judged. I had to be aware that I felt some kind of way about being judgmental. I had to know that about myself before I could get to the place where I could accept that that's how I am. And then it kind of loosened the reins. I didn't feel like I needed to hold on to that as tightly. And naturally, my judgment has started to kind of melt away. I hope that is helpful. I'm going to go back to my full screen here. And I am hoping that y'all can hear me still, and if there's any questions, I would love to hear them. Let me just see about getting the chat so I can see what questions are coming up. How do you know? Prima's asking, how do you know when it's time to be in a relationship? That's a great question. I think that you know when it's time when you feel like you are willing to share yourself with another person. There's no perfect timing, and you're probably not going to feel ready. If I'm honest, you're probably not going to feel ready. For most things, we never feel ready. But I think that when you can ask yourself, am I willing? Am I willing to open my heart to this person? Am I willing to share myself with this person? I think that that's when you know it's time to be in a relationship. Is that helpful? You can thumbs up or I hope that that's helpful. For me, I was a serial dater for many, many years, and I didn't want to be in a relationship for a long time. And so I dated casually. And then somebody challenged me to be in a relationship. He said, like, I want to be in a relationship with you. And that was kind of how I ended up in a relationship with somebody. So sometimes it's about the person, what the other person might nudge you. And I couldn't think of a reason why not to. And so I did. So I hope that helps. Is sex on the first date wrong? No, no. Sex on the first date isn't wrong. I think that sex on the first date is fine as long as both people are consenting and wanting to. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I know that for some people some people feel like having sex on the first date means that you're moving fast, and that's not necessarily true. I have had sex on the first date a few times. In those situations ended up becoming long-term relationships. And I've also had sex on the first. I've had sex on the first date with a few people that I never wanted to see again. So yeah, I think that it just really depends on the two people. If both people are consenting adults and they are willing, I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. It's really a matter of personal comfort and preference. And if you're wanting to wait though, if you're wanting to wait and you're feeling, maybe your body is feeling turned on and you really feel attracted to this person, um, and you still feel like you want to wait, I would question, what am I waiting for? Are you waiting because you really want to? Are you waiting because you don't want to be perceived as in a certain light? Because there's a lot of societal conditioning that comes with sex and sex on the first date. So if you're feeling physically attracted and you're feeling like you want to, but you're not wanting to do it, question why you don't want to do it. Always asking questions of yourself. Do you teach your man how to treat you? Yes. Yes, I think so, but not in a not in a preachy way. Um, I think that I teach my partner how to treat me by how I treat myself, as opposed to me telling him, you need to do this and you need to do that. Instead, it's like how I treat myself. I am kind to myself. I'm loving to myself. I'm patient with myself. And so my partner is kind, loving, and patient to me. So I think that that's true about anything. Like you teach people how to treat you by how you treat yourself, and not by like giving them a laundry list of ways that they and behaviors. That's not how we teach people, because people, um just like kids live what they learn. They live from watching you, and adults are not different. People treat you how you treat yourself. And so if someone sees you beating yourself up and being unkind to yourself, they might be inclined to do the same thing. And even if they aren't inclined to do the same thing, they might not respect you as much, because it's much more difficult to respect somebody that is disrespectful to themselves. So that's what I have to say about that. That's what I have to say about that. So um, I want to I want to stay on task with the time, especially because we lost some time in the beginning. So you might have noticed a lot of the answers that I gave to questions were really related to self-awareness. In my opinion, self-awareness is just yesterday I was on a call with one of my friends, and I said, self-awareness was the God particle of relationships. Self-awareness is the absolute most important thing in a relationship. And oftentimes, people say, what's the most important thing in a relationship? Communication. Well, you can't communicate well if you're not self-aware. You need to be able to see yourself. You need to be able to ask yourself questions. You need to be able to be clear with yourself. And without self-awareness, you can't self-reflect. So you have to be able to be present in your own body, and to be able to be present in your own mind, in order for you to be able to reflect on things in your relationship. And self-reflection is important because that's how you get to accountability. So often I hear people complaining about someone, that they're dating, or it can be in a work setting. This person won't take accountability. They don't take responsibility for their own things. Well, part of the reason that they're not doing that is that they're not aware. They're not aware. They can't even ask myself, is that, should I have said that? Did that come out right? Those those questions come from having being present with ourselves and being aware of who we are and how we're moving. And without that, we can't be accountable. And so that's what's missing often in the workplace, where people are not, taking responsibility and accountability for things that they're doing or when they drop the ball. Same thing in a relationship. We sometimes want our children to be accountable for things when they haven't had a living, breathing example of what that looks like, because they don't see their parents taking accountability. They don't see their parents apologizing when they get it wrong. Because again, you can't be accountable if you can't self reflect, and you can't self reflect if you're not self aware. I do want to clarify that ruminating is not the same as self reflection. Beating yourself up is not self reflection. When we are ruminating or self conscious, there's nothing positive about that. When we are self conscious, we feel shame, we are embarrassed. Those are not, you cannot process things in a healthy way from that place. So a lot of us ruminate. A lot of us are self-critical and self-conscious, but we're not self-reflecting because we're not being kind to ourselves enough to actually hear. I don't know about you, but I am unresponsive to mean talk. Like when someone talks shit to me, I'm not responsive to that. And so I'm not responsive when I talk shit to myself. So I don't. Instead I get curious with myself and I ask questions, and that is how I'm able to be healthy in relationships, and that's what I encourage my clients to do. So with that in mind, I want to invite you to my new program, Mindful Me. Mindful Me is a 4-week program about self-awareness. And my intention is to really help people to be kind to themselves and to be able to get curious and ask questions. And having a healthy self-awareness and a self-reflection practice will help you to set healthy boundaries. It will help you to be able to say no, to say yes to things that you really want, but also to be able to have healthy conversations, to be able to navigate disagreements, to clean up after an argument, because arguments happen sometimes. These are all things that are really vital to the health of any relationship. And that's what I will be going over. That's what we'll be learning in Mindful Me. The card is currently open for Mindful Me. And if you are live on here, you can use coupon code MMAMA32224, and that stands for Mindful Me AMA, Ask Me Anything, and today's date. But you can use that code to save 25% off on Mindful Me, and you can visit staceyherrera.com/mindful-me if you are interested in joining. We begin on March 28th, which is coming up soon. And so hop on over there if you're curious. And if not, that's okay too. I'm really glad that you're here. Thank you for being patient. I was a little bit frazzled after trying to get this live together. Practice makes better. Practice makes better. So the next time I will definitely have a better experience. Let's see. Prima has another question. I'm not comfortable about my body, but been loving. This is what I have to say about that, Prima. If you are not comfortable in your body, again, it doesn't mean that men can't love and appreciate your body. However, it will be challenging for you to believe that they love it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So it's not that you won't, and I speak that from my own personal experience as well. I haven't always been super comfortable in my body, and whenever someone would like celebrate my body, I would be like, well, why do you love it? what do you love about this? But it was because no, I couldn't believe it because I didn't feel that way about my own body. So I hope that that is helpful. Thank y'all for joining me and for being patient again. I appreciate you for being there and taking the time. I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend and that you are all, if you're in the Western Hemisphere, basking in all of this spring joy and sunshine that we're having here. Well, I don't know if it's sunshiny where you are, but it's sunshiny where I am, and spring has definitely sprung. So until next time, thank you again for joining me, and I'll check y'all on the interwebs.